Hi, and welcome to this new episode in which we're going to be talking about singing high notes. Because many singers, they think that in order to sing high notes, you need to be able to sing louder. Now that's not always true, so let's dive into this. Hi, welcome to this new episode, and let's talk about singing high notes. Many singers, they believe that in order to sing high notes, you need to sing louder. And I totally get that because I've been there too. I was someone that the higher I went, the louder I went as well. And that causes our voice to tense up. Now, we're going to be talking about that. But first, I want to say that it's really normal to make that link. High notes equals loud notes. It's not always the case, but it's really natural for our brain to go there because whenever we're singing or talking in chest voice, that sounds really powerful. That sounds really bold, And oftentimes we want to keep that same powerful quality when going into the higher pitches. I wanted to say notes and pitch together, poaches. So oftentimes, whenever we want to get that powerful sound, we want to take that quality into the higher notes. That's what I wanted to say. So it's only natural and normal that our brain links those two together. That our brain tries to force that loudness that we create in our lower pitches into the higher pitches. Now, the truth is that we have to maintain our sound in a balanced way. So we have two muscles that produce our sound when we're singing. So we have the vocal cords, which are kind of like two rubber bands, and we have two muscles, two main muscles, because there's many muscles at play here, but two main muscles that are going to help us when singing. The first muscle is what I call the chest voice muscle. It's also referred to as TA from thyroarytenoids, but no one remembers that. We're talking about the chest voice muscle. And the chest voice muscle, that muscle is responsible for the thickness of the vocal cords. In other words, that chest voice muscle is responsible for the power, getting those vocal cords together, finding that power, finding that loudness. That's what the chest voice muscle is responsible for. Now, on the other hand, we also have the head voice muscle. And the head voice muscle, also called the CT muscle or the cricothyroid muscle, again, no one remembers that. The head voice muscle is responsible for stretching out the vocal cords. Whenever we stretch out the vocal cords, the higher we go in pitch. So we have the flexibility from our head voice muscle because we want to go higher in pitch. And we want to combine that with the power and the thickness of our chest voice muscle. I'm going to say that again. In order to sing, because this is important, in order to sing high, powerful notes, we want to combine the thickness and the power of our chest voice muscle with the range and the flexibility of our head voice muscle. Does that make sense? That's the theory. So the real question becomes, how do I do that? How do I combine the power of my chest voice muscle and the range of my head voice muscle? Well, that's a good question. Because if you don't combine those two, that's where we're going to keep on straining the voice. What is straining the voice? Well, it's taking that chest voice muscle, so taking that power, the thickness of the vocal cords, trying to put that in the higher pitches, but at one point, you're going to feel that you're straining so much that your voice will give up. It will kind of sound like this. And you're feeling it tensing up. And at one point, that chest voice muscle is just on so much pressure that it will just release. And the only other muscle left to take over is our head voice muscle. And oftentimes, if you're a chest voice singer, then that head voice muscle is not well developed yet. So if you keep on straining your voice, singing high pitches from your chest voice, that's where we can develop some vocal problems like nodules, like hoarseness, tension, obviously. We don't want to have that. Those are all consequences that are worst case scenario. We don't want to have that. We want to stay clear of those. So what we need to do, and the answer to the question, how can I combine the power of my chest voice muscle and the range and the flexibility of my head voice muscle? The answer here is mixed voice. Mixed voice is basically combining the two. And really, the first step to all of this is to learn vocal technique. So what do I mean by vocal technique? Vocal technique is kind of like developing that backpack with different techniques and tools in order to learn how to use your voice the right way. Now, I'm having a training coming up that is completely free, and it's called Discover the Most Powerful Vocal Technique. So I highly recommend you go through that training because that will definitely help you. I'll link to the training in the description here below. So once you've gone through that training, you will understand more about everything that I'm talking about here. But vocal technique is the first step, and more specifically, going into the mixed voice technique. What is mixed voice technique? Well, mixed voice is combining the head voice and the chest voice together. In order to develop that mixed voice, the first thing you need to do is making those two muscles as strong as they can together. So right now, there might be an imbalance. It might be that your chest voice is stronger than your head voice, or the other way around, because you've been singing in chest voice all your life, or the other way around, maybe you've been singing in head voice all your life. So step one is creating that balance between the two. How do you do that? Well, singing chest voice exercises or chest voice songs, or singing head voice exercises and head voice songs. Then we can go one step further, which is combining the two. We cannot combine the two as long as they're not equally as strong. That's why step number one is so important. So then step two is combining the two. That's where we're starting to do exercises where you're going to be switching between both. So that's where you're going to be doing exercises going from chest voice to head voice and back, or from head voice to chest voice and back, or singing songs where you need to switch through those registers the whole time. By switching between the two and incorporating the two, that's where slowly these two muscles will start to communicate together. And that's where mixed voice will appear. That was my experience. I was a heavy chest voice singer, and my mixed voice, appeared one day after training the head voice for so long. So that's your first step. Instead of thinking, oh, I need to be loud when singing high notes, no, let's look at how can I activate that mixed voice. And again, I highly encourage you going through that training that I told you about, the Discover the Most Powerful Vocal Technique training, because that will give you many exercises to go through to activate that mixed voice as well. So I'll link to it in the description here below. I hope this made sense. Your homework for today is to find a song where you have that chest voice and the head voice, and try to combine both within one song. And if you feel that your head voice is not developed well yet, that's totally fine. We have many exercises to help you with that. But that's your first step. Identify where you're at in that mixed voice journey. Once you've done that, I'll see you on the training. Again, I'll link to it in the description here down below. And thank you so much for having been here today. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you here again soon. Bye.